Now it gives me very great pleasure to introduce Margot Parker. Margot and Fred Parker got me interested in UKIP some 3 or 4 years ago. Otherwise, I was a voice in Stamford, where I come from, in the wilderness. So I'm extremely grateful to have you, Margot. Margot is a member of the European Parliament, but she's also standing for Westminster to represent Corby in the forthcoming elections in May. So I hope she gets plenty of support. Margot is the spokesperson for UKIP's small business community. And as I'm sure you all know, the very lifeblood of this country is with the small businesses we have. We have hundreds of thousands of them. The big boys are fine, they come and they go with a great big pang from time to time. But the small businesses stay forever. Margot, I'm delighted to introduce you.
Well, thank you very much, Peter, for that kind introduction. I feel I must say something about Grantham. I was born here, and one of our rather charming young speakers here earlier mentioned all of the people that ruled our country that went to grammar schools. But we mustn't forget Margaret Thatcher, who, of course, I think you've got a museum around the corner in her honour. So let's celebrate the fact that Grantham does produce some quite good politicians. So let's celebrate that. Anyway, thank you very much for inviting me and all of the hard work that I know everybody's put into putting on this meeting, putting out the leaflets. It costs a lot of shoe leather and people get quite tired and worn out doing it. So thank you to all of those people. Well, first of all, I'd like to say I really am delighted to be here, to be able to speak to you this afternoon about the smaller businesses. And as I'm UKIP's smaller business spokesperson, I'd like to tell you that, quite honestly, the importance of SMEs to our economy is far greater than most people realise. And we all know the Conservative Party loves big business. Well, UKIP is about smaller businesses, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about this afternoon. The business environment for smaller businesses is tough, and made even tougher by the collapse of business ethics. The bully boy tactics used by our large global corporations to browbeat their suppliers by demanding longer and longer times to pay their supplier bills. Across the UK and Europe, this unacceptable practice is growing at an alarming rate. Vince Cable, the head of the Department and Business Innovation and Spin, said recently, and I quote him, "When I speak to small businesses, late payments and long payment terms are almost always amongst their top concerns, with over £20 billion locked up in late payments." It isn't surprising, is it? Let's look at this. The grocery adjudicator said actually, with alleged malpractice by Tesco, is a step in the right direction. However, it's 9 months away. And no decision is going to be made. So financial sanctions are subject to the coalition proving the powers to limit the fine to 1% of turnover of their big business friends. So, Mr. Cable, I'm challenging you to see through what you have started and to extend the ability to fine wrongdoers in manufacturers, suppliers actually that are supplying all sorts of businesses. Bring them all into this field, please. The existing legislation is there, all right, but it's either so weak or the burden of proof is so onerous that it is beyond the ordinary person's ability to be able to bring a claim for a smaller business. So they're priced out of the market in that respect. So bad practice goes unchallenged. The respect, I'm afraid, the public have for many of our larger companies is at rock bottom. The importance and the impact of small businesses seems to feature so rarely that many fail to recognise just how crucial small businesses are to Britain today. Not only are they the backbone of our economy, not only the principal driver of our labour market, but it's where our innovators can be found, our entrepreneurs. and those people who once had a dream of making or creating or selling or trading. A group of people who once made the decision to take control of their own future, to build something for the benefit of themselves and those around them. And really what I'd like to say to you today also is that if you're working all the hours you can to try and start a business or build a business, if you're a wealth creator, a generator of jobs, then UKIP's here for you. And we're determined to do what we can to make your life easier. It's been interesting that as part of the debate of Britain's membership of the European Union, this coalition government has loved to dish out the quotes from big businesses, the CEO of this rather large multinational or another, talking about how important our membership of the EU is. There's no doubting or denying it. David Cameron loves his friends in big business. And they love the European Union, not because they think it's good for Britain, but because they're sure it's good for them and their friends. I know from talking to those hard-working Britons who are running small businesses up and down the country that they, like the rest of us, are struggling. They're struggling to find the cash they need to help their businesses grow and to succeed. Struggling to employ the people they need with the skills that are essential in an ever-competitive global marketplace. Struggling to keep their heads above water after wave of overburdening legislation is swept over them. If we, in this party, who truly believe that less regulation are going to lead the way in supporting SMEs, then we need to do everything we can to put them first. And if you're in any doubt about that, let me tell you why. SMEs amount for almost half of the private sector. Turnover of 3.7 million businesses are sole proprietors. Small firms employ 59% of our workforce. 4.8 million businesses are micro businesses. We need to start putting small businesses first, and we in UKIP will do that as a priority and with a passion to succeed in that task. Let me outline some of the ways that we believe we can help to that end. To start with, UKIP will conduct a skills review, so crucial in allowing us to better inform our education system of the qualifications that are needed in the workplace for today. So often when visiting local business owners, we're told that workers with requisite skills and qualifications just don't exist in the UK labour market. That's not always true, by the way. But businesses looking to recruit and succeed are looking for university graduates with non-degrees in irrelevant subjects. They want people with skills, individuals who have the ability to demonstrate more than just experience at writing essays with management speak. We need to provide our education system with the intelligence they need so that they can better prepare people for the working world that's waiting for them. That's step number one. There are a number of EU directives which are, of course, a burden on our smaller businesses. The Working Time Directive and the Agency Workers Directive, to name just two. Both are messy, ill thought out, and need to be dealt with. But of course, in this party, we know we can't. Why can't we? Well, because we can't while we're still a member of the EU. Recently, we've had a rather silly and inconsequential directive about vacuum cleaners and coffee machines, and really an incompetent one called VAT MOS. The MOS bit stands for Mini One-Stop Shop. This most recent bit of ill-thought-out legislation was intended to catch the likes of Amazon, who sold digital downloads from low-VAT economies like Luxembourg. But what it succeeded in doing was catching out the smaller micro-businesses selling knitting patterns online. I mean, really, these are sundry items which are now caught in the VAT trap, which made them register for VAT even with a very low turnover, so that the seller has to identify the country from which the product was sold. Impossible in many cases, and by the way, to keep records for 10 years, really? At the same time, our HMRC was keeping quite quiet about these many regulations, and the result is that Many micro startup businesses have abandoned the idea sooner than get involved with mindless bureaucracy. So much for fostering smaller business, a declared aim of the EU. Once we're out of the European Union, we would restore common sense flexibilities which would allow more people into work, but more than that, would create more robust and a fit-for-purpose labour market. We need to lower energy costs for our businesses. Getting rid of so-called green taxes would be a good start. UKIP wants to press our energy regulators to ensure that the recent fall in energy prices are passed on to you, speedily and in full. UKIP will make it a priority to work with you and to encourage local councils to provide more free parking in our town centres. As local authorities are squeezed from above, they've started to view local car parks as cash cows, an easy way, of course, of bringing in revenue. Well, UKIP will do all it can to bring an end to these charges altogether, which have been a hammer blow to small retail units in declining town centres. We don't need financial incentives, token reward schemes to revive our high streets. We just need a good dose of common sense, frankly, UKIP common sense. We're talking about that right now. UKIP are going to push for simplifications to be made to our planning system to help bring about an environment that can benefit SMEs. It's ludicrous, it's scandalous that small business owners are left scrapping for business premises at a time when we have units lying empty, numbering in their thousands. Unnecessary bureaucracy is causing business owners to jump through hoops to satisfy archaic planning legislation that requires a simple change of use from A2 to A1. UKIP would seek to change within that system, making it easy to marry up small businesses owners with vacant properties to create a match leading to jobs and enterprise. UKIP wants to see, and Marietta mentioned it earlier, a greater broadband penetration in our rural areas and to see much better mobile phone coverage in our countryside, not just our city based on geography and just not on population. We need a signal when we need it, for reasons as much as anything. That's what we needed. People need it, they need it then. They really mustn't fudge this, it's important. UKIP will extend the right of appeal to HMRC, micro businesses, that in those with less than 9 employees, with the provision that no action is to be taken by HMRC on micro businesses until all appeal processes are complete. A much lighter touch is what is needed. We want to encourage and expand that practice. And in UKIP we understand that business is about long-term planning and cash flow. Whilst always encouraging businesses to remain and open and honest dialogue, it's just as important to ensure that the reciprocal support is paramount from HMRC too. Bank lending to small firms needs to be made far easier, with better access to business angels and new forms of finance such as crowdfunding, often called peer-to-peer lending. This is where small investments are made by private individuals through a broker. And it's just a sort of community effort which UKIP endorses, as it doesn't give away large slices of precious equity. Just the interest on the funds are payable by the investee company. It's interesting to note that this form of small business finance has just reached £3 billion. That's 3 times as much as the coalition-backed so-called Green Bank based in Edinburgh, which was trumpeted recently by that man again, Vince Cable. We know, because we've been told often, that cash flow is crucial to small businesses. And finally, regulation. We're not just here to talk about important small businesses. UKIP understands their true importance, and we're going to fight harder than ever to see SMEs released from the burden of over-regulation. The main priorities for any business must always be to run and to grow their business. Time for them is valuable, and the amount of time it's taking to assimilate and implement overburdening regulation is costing them too much. Regulations have to be reduced, and we must start by getting rid of the irrelevant, smaller legislation which affect our businesses so much today. Encouragement, we want to encourage working people. They need the encouragement. And the EU has always professed to want to help smaller businesses. But of course they do absolutely nothing about it. They just talk about it. SMEs themselves tell us that regulation on employment, data protection, health and safety, all of these things are a heavy burden. They want regulators to listen to what they have to say. And how can it be right to impose a one-size-fits-all legislation with rigorous testing, which is, we need it, which is both proportionate and evidence-based? Where is the science and the proof that all of these regulations and directives are necessary? Does it exist? I really doubt it. One of the things that makes me most proud to be part of UKIP is that, like you, I'm not a politician. I'm a businesswoman. I've worked in small companies before and was once sent to Brussels on their behalf to help make the case for a level playing field. Well, naively, thinking that I might be able to help in that direction, I can tell you that they were there to hinder, not help. And I can honestly tell you that my experience at the coal face will tell you there's never been a will to lessen red tape. On the contrary, these guys want to invent more red tape. It's what they're about. We had absolutely not a chance of being able to open a door with the Commission when we were trying to negotiate. We got nowhere over the years, absolutely nowhere. But the Commission door is always open for big business. Let me tell you, that is the case. Well, we all know that the Conservative Party are the party of big business. Well, I'm here to tell you today, UKIP are the party of real business, and we are certainly going to mean business as we take our message to the people of this country. Thank you very much for listening.